This video will cover running the standard ultrasound mode in the Sierra Summit version 3.1. To open up the ultrasound software, you'll either go to the navigator and select All Tests tab or the Ultrasound tab and select the ultrasound mode, and then double click on the site or structure that you want to begin scanning. I will first go over the buttons and knobs on the base unit, and most of the settings that you change most often are associated with either a button or knob on the base unit, so it's good to get used to using those knobs to control things in the software. I'm just scanning an orange right now, so it won't look very anatomically correct, just so I have something on the screen. So the first thing to know is this blue diamond. That means we're running live, and when you push run stop on the base unit, you'll see that blue diamond go gray, and now we know we're paused. You have to be paused to do any measurements or annotations, and of course to store the image you have to be paused. So we'll run stop in the base unit, goes from live to pause. Down in the bottom right corner you'll see the buffer. This is a constant recording the past several seconds of video as we're scanning. So at any point you can push run stop on the base unit and then use the yellow knob to review back through that buffer, and then push down that yellow knob and it plays through that buffer again, so you can play back and see the video you just captured. If you want to keep that video, you would just pause it so that the yellow knob pauses and plays back, and then on the disk you can just click Cine Quick Save, and that's going to save that video to your patient file, and that will then be transferred to DICOM. So I'm going to go to run stop again. I'm running live again. If I want to store an image, I simply stop, review back and find the image that I want to store, and then just push store on the base unit, and that stores the image here. If I want to change any settings, most of the settings that you need to change are going to be on the knobs. So your yellow knob is your focus. So when you turn the yellow knob, you'll see the focus and then these arrows on the side of the screen here. Those will change as you turn the yellow knob, and then push down the yellow knob, and now we've toggled to depth. So now we're going to be changing the depth when you change the yellow knob, and you'll see the actual depth that you're at here. This at this point is 20 millimeters. The pink knob is your dynamic range and probe frequency. So dynamic range is really kind of the grayscale, the blacks and whites. So that's going to adjust how gray or how much contrast you see in the screen as you adjust the grayscale. And then the toggling or pushing down the pink knob adjusts the probe frequency. So the probe's going to range from 7.5 to 15, and as you adjust that knob, you'll see that frequency change. The lower frequencies are going to get you better depth, and the higher frequencies are going to get you not as good depth but better resolution. The blue knob is your power or your gain. Both of those are going to control some of the brightness of the screen. The power is actually controlling the volume or how loud the probe is screaming, sending out the sound waves. And then when you push down and adjust the gain, that's controlling how sensitive it's recording and listening to the reflected sound waves. So those are the settings that you'll use most often for just adjusting your image settings. But again, those settings are already set up on the presets. So when I selected the median nerve, it had some settings that should be optimized for that particular nerve. The F keys are how we adjust modes. So in this video, I'm only going to be covering B mode and B plus B mode. I might get into M mode a little bit. So F1 is B mode. That's always our standard mode. F2 is M line and M mode. So when you push F2 the first time, you'll get a nice blue line that goes down the center of the screen. You can adjust and move that with your mouse. And then push F2 a second time, and you're seeing M mode, which is actually showing any movement that occurs over that blue line, across that blue line. So as I have any movement that's going across that blue line, I'm going to see that reflected in the image below, the sweep below. And all the settings for all these different displays are on the left-hand panel here. F1 takes me back to B mode. I always have to start in B mode before I go into another mode. If I hit F2, or F3, I'm sorry, F3 goes into B plus B mode. This gives you a split screen. This is really nice if you want to do a ratio maybe measuring and comparing the median nerve from the left and right side, or maybe the median nerve from the wrist and forearm. So when you go into F3 B plus B mode, pushing down that F3 button again toggles between the left screen and the right screen. So you can go ahead and find a good image in the left screen, pause it, review back and find the best image, and then go to F3 and go run live into the right screen, find a good image in the right screen, pause it, review back, and now we have two different images that we can compare, and we can do measurements on these. So to do a measurement, I can go into my measurement toolbar over here. I'm in my measurement toolbar. This is the icon here. I can select and go either measurements or annotations, or what you'll use most often. So I'm in the measurements toolbar. I can measure distance, so that's just going to be a line. So if I want to measure the distance from here to here, and then see the distance here, I can measure an area, and I can either do the area of a circle or a free trace area. This is probably more accurate for measuring nerves. So I'm going to click the area, and that's going to give me an area. I can do a length. That's going to give me the length of a curving line. So if I'm measuring the length of this line, I can delete all or delete selected. So if I want to delete something, I can choose the arrow and select what I want to delete, or I can just delete all. That deletes all of my measurements and annotations. If I want to do a ratio, I would go to AB ratio. So that gives me, and it's set for traces, so it's going to give me two trace lines. So I'd measure here, say I wanted to measure, this portion in this image, and I wanted to compare that to this portion of this image. So I just did two measurements in a row. Because I had selected AB ratio, it showed me the first measurement, the second measurement, and gave me the ratio. If I wanted to reverse those and compare the second to the first, I would just change here and I'd say I want the second to the first, and then finish, and it would give me a ratio that way as well. So that gives me a ratio. If I want to do any annotations, I could come into my tool here and go to annotations, and I could say maybe I want to, so I have some preset ones here under label, or I can just free text here. So I'm just going to go to label, and let's just say this was our right median wrist. Of course I could change the font to right median wrist and then click out, and then let's say this is our left median wrist, click out. If I wanted to do an arrow, I can select arrow. You can free draw on the screen, free text, change the thickness of lines. So again, annotations, I just went into the annotations toolbar, I select label, and then I pick the label that I wanted. Click it, drop it where I want it, and then click out, and it leaves it there. When I go back into my measurements toolbar, I can now go through. If I want to delete something, I can select that. So if I don't want this, I can select it and delete selected or delete all. If I'm happy with this image, I can just hit store, and now I've stored that image, and that will be saved in my patient screen. And when I am ready to send to DICOM, that'll also be sent to the DICOM server. So at this point, I'm going to go back into my B mode. I'm going to push F1. It takes me back to my standard B mode, and I can continue scanning. If there's any other images you want to save, of course, you just run stop, review back through your buffer to find the best image, and then hit store. This here is your color palette, and that actually affects the brightness of the display quite a bit. So if you aren't happy with the brightness of display, the two I would probably use are either the second mode or the fourth mode. That's going to be pretty good brightness but different contrasts. And so this is not really having anything to do with any of the settings and the knobs. This is more just the color palette that we're using. If you flip through there, you'll find all sorts of different color palettes you can look at. Some color palettes are better at looking at certain images, but I think the optimal ones, I like 2, and then 4 if you want a little bit more contrast. And at this point, if I want to, there's quite a few other settings on here you can change, but really the ones I just wanted to go over the basics in this video, and I think we've covered most of the ones you may want to change. The star at the bottom of the screen here, if you push that, we see the list of our presets here. what this is going to do is when you pick this preset, the ones that have numbers next to them are the ones that we've set up for the system, and these are some default ones that come with the system. So I like these because if I want to look at a structure that's in the 40 millimeter range, when I click that preset, it's going to bring up that depth and everything for me. I can just kind of pick whatever I want. And that's the basics. So now that we've scanned images and any videos that you wanted to record, and again, to record a video, that's under the disk here, we can just drop down and select Cine Quick Save. The image save as and Cine save as is how we would save images or videos into a folder on the computer. So if you pick either of those, you can choose where you want that image or video to save, choose the type of file. So for a video, you could save it as an AVI, and that would allow you to play that video back on other computers. So that's how you select images to save that aren't part of the software. These images, if you use save as, they wouldn't obviously be sent to DICOM. They would just be saved for your own use somewhere else on the computer or on the network. When I'm ready to send all the images and videos that I've taken to the DICOM server, there's a couple steps. First, you'll go to Send, and then once we have your DICOM set up, the very bottom selection here will actually be Send All DICOM Images. So you'll select the very bottom selection, and then you'll actually need to toggle the Show Hide one time. So push F6 twice, and that way you can see, you'll see a little window pop up. And this is once we have DICOM set up on your systems, where you can then go ahead and click Send to send all those images and videos to DICOM. And those are the basics of running the ultrasound, the standard ultrasound mode in the Sierra Summit 3.0.